Hi, today we have with us Shraddha Pandey, the founder and CEO of Masaka. Shraddha started her journey with Jabong as a content strategist, and then you moved on to create a subscription box called the Happiness Kit, which was focused around four main vectors, right? Nostalgia, humor, creativity, and mental well being. And from there on, you went on to start Swana Therapy and then Masaka. So, how has your journey been so far?
Oh, it's been amazing. I mean, in a lot of ways. Like when I look at it right now, look back at all the journey right now, it's it comes off as amazing. But those years were like very hustling because one thing I knew where all my issues are coming from because I am into the segment from the past 8 years because of my own healthcare experiences. And some 8 years ago, my own my health had turned its back on me, and from weighing 56 kgs, I went on to weigh 102 kgs in the span of 6 months post my delivery. And that was as a 23-year-old. When you get that fat, it kind of puts your confidence at the back seat, right? And you start imagining you like the worst about yourself, right? So I had those issues, and apart from that, there were like many disconnected symptoms that I was going through, and the doctors were not able to help me. I was able to get symptomatic treatment, but I was not able to resolve my health issues, right? And from there on, I think my research into what what I am suffering from, why my health has taken this kind of toll, and what can I do, what can I solve that one problem that will kind of take care of all those problems, right? That is where I think researching on about my health, I came upon hormones, and that's when I realized, okay, cortisol, the stress hormone, is one of those hormones that kind of has a ripple effect throughout your health, right? So Happiness Kit was the first attempt to help everybody, not women in general, but everybody, to deal with that stress, right? So that's why we had four different components to it, right? And those four components had their own way of de-stressing the person, right? And the second, like from there on, I moved to I figured out, because I was speaking to a lot of women, me being a woman, and my inclination have always been towards helping women who do not understand their health, right? So that is where I learned about how many, I mean, I didn't know that because I myself have been through those situations, but I have not been working for as long that time, so, as those women. So talking to them, I realized that women have multiple responsibilities: personal, professional, familial, and on top of that, they have to also take care of their dreams and ambitions. They have to also set themselves apart from the competition, there, right? So there are so many things that is going on in their life, and definitely all these things culminate into being a stressor somehow, right? So that is when I thought, okay, I need to really help women deal with their health, because for a man, their health is very linear. Like we have a menstrual cycle which changes on a daily basis, and its effect is very evident on our physical health, mental health, on our moods and behaviors, right? So that is why I thought women needed more than men. I'm sorry, right? But we really do need it more than men, right? That structured platform. So Swana Therapy happened like that, and the first products that I launched, in Swana was again de-stress soaks, foot soaks, and PMS and period pain relief products, which were natural, right? And but then I realized, because as I was talking, I never stopped giving I also used to give workshops, and I used to take webinars and all that. So I never stopped doing that. So I was continuously talking to all these women, and I realized that the problem goes beyond just period pain and PMS, right? Women do not have that understanding of the correct structure that they need to take care of their health. They do not have that kind of understanding, okay, that this is where my health is going wrong, this is the right time to take the right action, and this is how I take the right action. So for women, when she gets any symptom or when she gets sick, it becomes a very huge navigational issue. She goes on Google, she researches her symptoms. Now those symptoms could just be a simple gastric symptoms, or maybe heart attack. So how does a woman navigate through those symptoms and take a stand that, okay, this is what I'm suffering from, this is the right kind of doctor, or this is the right kind of treatment, right? So that is how Masika happened. And Masika initially started as a navigational platform for women, as an AI powered navigational platform, where women could come and they can assess their day-to-day symptoms, and those day-to-day symptoms, based on our AI powered framework. After assessing those symptoms, the system would tell what is the probable cause of those symptoms, and then women can take right actions at right time with the right doctor, right? And from there on, we our idea was not to just create a navigational platform. We really wanted to our vision is to create a platform where women have a very personalized accessibility to their health, wellness and well-being, right? So imagine, you have a platform we have a platform in our country for women, where according to their everything, all the recommendations regarding her health, wellness, lifestyle, well-being, everything is according to her health profile, her lifestyle profile, her preferences and her conditions, right? So that is what we want to solve. We want to create that platform where women does not face that navigational problem. They know this is what is good for me, this is what I have to take, bring that structure in women's life. And that's what we started, our vision with Masika is, we started with symptom assessment. And so far we've gone ahead and created a science-backed framework called the Comprehensive Homeostasis Framework, which helps women to overcome over 40 plus chronic conditions and sexual issues in them. Right? So so in the past 1 year, I would call this as a phase 1. Right, so this is what we've done, and phase 2 is about building this and taking it to much more, more and more women out there. So I would like to expand on that, in terms of product. See, Masika is not just a symptom assessment platform, like I said, right? So what this framework that we have created does is that it helps women suffering from any kind of chronic issues like PCOD, pre-diabetes, diabetes, etc., sexual dysfunction issues, or if she's not suffering from any issues, even then it helps a woman to restore her homeostatic balance. Homeostatic balance is basically your overall health. When your body is completely in a perfect balance of its hormones, of its systems, it will be devoid of any kind of health condition, any kind of diseases, disorders. It will be in your your body will be in a perfect in its perfect weight, in its perfect appearance, everything. So if you look around, not many of us are in our perfect homeostatic balance, right? And when you go out to get that homeostatic balance in the hospital, your overall health has been segmented, right? For skin, you go to an epidermologist. For your mental health, you go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a psychotherapist. For your reproductive issues, women go to gynecologists, men go to andrologists, right? So our entire body has been segmented into these different departments, so that these specialists can take better care of ourselves. If I create a doctor who's good at everything, then he's good at nothing, right? Because you cannot practically create a human being who's good at everything, right?
Yes.
So that is why our body is segmented like this, and different departments are being taken care by different doctors. But if I have a health issue, if I want to restore my overall health, I don't know what all am I suffering from. I can't possibly go through all the tests available in the market to assess my overall health, right? So what is that one thing that I can do, that I can take charge of in my life, that will allow me to restore that health, right? This is what that framework is. Your lifestyle is the precursor. Your lifestyle choices are, in women, their lifestyle choices are the precursor of any or all chronic conditions or diseases or disorders, right? So we basically correct that lifestyle structure. We bring that correct lifestyle structure in women, and it's a very, the whole process is very adaptive, and it's very, how do I say, it's very empathetic, right? So when a woman feels that she's being, that she her problems are being understood, she puts more efforts into getting well, right? When we gaslight a woman's issues saying, hey, tumko roz hota rehta hai, this, you have this headache every day, you have these mood swings every day, she's not going to come out and be actively looking for her health issues, because hey, you just told her that it's all in her head. Right, so that is what we're trying to solve. Like at Masika, it's a judgment-free space. If you say you have a headache, we tell you yes, you have a headache. We agree with you. We don't gaslight your issues, right? So yeah. So in terms of product, we have these, like using this framework, we have created these different lifestyle like packages for different chronic conditions. So. So far, we have helped women suffering from infertility, PCOD, pre-diabetes, diabetes, obesity, stress, and hypothyroidism, gastritis. Overcome all these health conditions, form robust habit around these lifestyle structure, and take charge of their life.
All right, that's really good, because essentially what you're doing is also bringing about the dialogue which is required, right?
Exactly.
For the longest time, the need for this dialogue has always been there, but as my own experiences, I can say that it's been suppressed, right?
Yes.
In the Indian society, and it's so much. It's the need for it is so much today.
Yeah, I mean, we really need to start. See, one of the conversation yesterday I was having in a group on, and there somebody asked me this question: what is the shortest way of solving a women's health problem in India? I said, just get men into the conversation. See, all these social constructs that we have built around women's mental health, sexual health, physical health, whatever it is, because there is a gender that we don't want to gross out. Right, so that's why women, it's always taboo to talk about menstrual cycle or periods. There are different type of myths, superstitions, and things running around or built around those. Right, we we very politely just shrug it under the carpet and never talk about it. Right, so I think that needs to be broken, and the only way that can happen, all these social constructs and things that we have around women's health can be broken when men start actively taking participation into the conversation, right? Yes. We get all the men into the conversation, actively participating in getting women healthy or understanding their health. I tell you, in 10 years, India will have seen such tremendous change, reformation in women's health that that no other country could even imagine achieving. Right, the only thing stopping us is this barrier between a man's and a woman's health. Right, so yeah, I truly believe that.
All right. So, what have been one of the more rewarding aspects of working in women's health for you?
For a very long time, the reason why I was into this segment is because I truly believe that if I had to face so many issues, if I had to face so much problems into getting healthy and shell out so much money to just restore my health, think about all the other women who don't have these resources, who don't have this kind of time to invest into researching, understanding their health, taking the right actions, bringing the right lifestyle changes. So I truly had that understanding that if I am suffering from this, me, an educated woman with means and resources, then there are women out there who are suffering with this, who don't have that kind of means and resources, even though they are educated. We cannot expect every educated woman to go out there and start researching on her health. I mean, I had to read MBBS and gynecologist MD books to get a comprehensive understanding on how my health functions. Now that is not the kind of same thing you can expect out of every woman, right? Because she's already got 10,000 responsibilities to take care of. So that was my primary motivation, to be in the space. But as in when I got associated with women, I started guiding them, helping them restore their health. And one of the most amazing, I think, driving factor that till date drives me to keep doing this work is when we've closed our first client on Masika, right? Last year in the month of August, I had held a webinar called Diet Mantra for PCOD Reversal, and there was this woman, Shreya, and she had come on, she'd come for the webinar, and she'd called me after the webinar, and she was like, ma'am, I have heard many webinars like this. I have been duped twice on Instagram for such programs. Okay. And, what is if you give me the guarantee that she was suffering from infertility for the past 2 years, and she did not have, short of using IVF, she had done everything to address her issues, and she was not able to conceive, and she was really stressed out, right? And I heard her out, I understood her issues, and she was suffering from PCOD, and infertility is one of the main outcomes of it, right? So I calmed her down and I told her, Shreya, I guarantee you that I will help you conceive naturally. Everybody in my team at that point, after I ended the call, yelled at me for having promised such such huge thing. Like, and at that point, my mentality was like, I want to close my first client. I want to do my first sales. I mean, how do we know that what we have created is actually going to help women to overcome these issues, right? And I said, yes, I guarantee you that you will conceive, right? And she gave me a deadline that by this month, November, I want to conceive, right?
All right.
And on 1st of November, we get a message that, ma'am, I have naturally conceived. And, it was mind-blowing. Her testimonials were mind-blowing. And, I still did not stop. I was like, hey, Shreya, like, now the journey has started.
Yeah.
Right? You have got complications and everything. And I really wanted to see through that, she delivers the baby, right? And like I said, because there were many complications, there were so many times that we thought, something bad would happen, right? And we would all be sitting in together HSR. We've done that, huddling up together, praying for the baby. And, we call, her name is, so I'll come to that story later. But then, we have done those praying sessions and everything for the baby to be okay, right? Because we've done so much effort and this was something which is coming to fruition, right?
Yes.
And then in July this year, she finally delivered the baby, and she wanted to name the baby after Masika.
All right.
Right? And then we were like, no, it literally means monthly. You cannot call your baby monthly, right?
Yeah.
And then she was like, okay, how about Shraddha? I was like, no, because, that's a 2021 baby. Why would you not name her Shraddha, right? I am a 20th century kid. That one is a 21st century kid, right? So then they went ahead and named her Kirat, which is the Punjabi version of Shraddha, which means faith, right?
Nice.
And I think, like the way the things that the parents, Kirat's parent said to me, the whole journey that we have been through, like the soul, the heart, the hard work that we brought to the table to make that thing happen, is the reason that if ever I feel like if there is a client yelling at me that, hey, you promised me this would happen, that would happen, and I would really feel guilty, and I would be like, oh, hey, I really can't take this, I am here to help women, and if they're not seeing the results and not realizing that it's not in my hands, if they're not adhering to the plan 100%,
yes,
they cannot expect 100% results, right? So, and I would blame myself for the same reason, right? And then from there, it wasn't a short way to quitting everything, right? So I would always feel, hey, I am going to give up. Bahut ho gaya. I can't do this anymore. Can't play with women's health anymore. So I would just, with one bad review, I would just negate everything good that has happened in the company, right? So I think I was saying this, talking to Shreya, and then she told me that, ma'am, I want you to remember that, you are the reason I have a daughter today. So I want you to remember when you feel that you want to quit, because then there are so many women who will never be able to conceive naturally because they don't know how to correct their lifestyle, right? So I think that is something where if I sit today and if I worry about what is going to happen to my company tomorrow, I am like, hey, we brought Kirat into this world, we can do this, right? So I think that is one of the driving forces for me. And because I have a daughter of my own, right, I really don't want to disappoint and really don't want her to grow up in an environment where she cannot take charge of her health, where she cannot be health independent, right? So these are the two motivating factors for me to keep going or doing this.
All right. That's very, very interesting. It's also a very rewarding experience,
yes,
right? Having been with the person through the entire journey, and then
since Shreya, we've had many phenomenal journeys. We have 80% success rate on the plans, right? So and we have 60% women completing the plans till the end and then repeating the plan for another 3 months, right? So we've had amazing journeys, and of course, when you see women getting healthy and they tell you that this wasn't possible, and they didn't know that their lifestyle could do so much, miracles in their life. I think, yes, that is something that every entrepreneur should hold on to. I always tell this to my team that I am never going to go out of calling my clients or making a sale or speaking to my clients, how is it going, because if I'm not touched with the base, the foundation that that Masika is, I don't think we'll be it becomes really difficult to keep that vision also intact and keep going at it, right? So yeah, I think user feedback is very important.
Definitely. How is competitive landscape in this industry now?
See, I would say, I really don't want to use the word competition, right? Because any any company solving women's health issue is doing the much needed work, right? And in terms of competition, see what we want to do or what we are trying to do, nobody is doing directly that, right? But because we started last year with helping women who were suffering primarily from PCOD, which is one of the most common chronic disorders in India, right? Every 1 in 5 women in India suffers from PCOD. So it was one of the most common chronic condition, and we started doing that. So around that time, a lot of companies also had started up, Veera Health and UB Health, right? Okay. And they're doing amazing job in the field of helping women correct their PCOD issues, right? So because we had similar products, so we also got mistakenly positioned into that market, right? So yes, for a lot of our users or for a lot of our investors, we do look like a PCOD company, but we are not that at all, right? We are a lifestyle a product based lifestyle company which is focused around helping women to become health independent by taking charge of their lifestyle comprehensively, right? PCOD is one of that issue that we help women to resolve, right? There are 40 plus conditions that women come to us to resolve, right? So but what I think is Veera Health, UV Health, there are many proactive for her. Then there is Ara Health, right? Yeah. So there are these companies who are doing amazing job when it comes to sensitization, okay? And that is where we really need to break the ground, right? Because sensitizing women about their health issues, making them understand that, it's not in their head, it is actually happening to them. These guys are doing amazing jobs, right? But yeah, everybody has a niche, right? Ara is a product-based company. They have supplements and nutraceuticals, yes, right? And they're also content company. They create amazing sensitizing content for women's health. Veera there again is focused on helping women with PCOD take charge of the PCOD issues, right? So they have all found their niches. But how I see myself is I see myself as a product company. We are creating an app, right? We're building an app for women to take charge of their lifestyle in a very personalized manner, and which has a very which has an intrinsic motivation to it, which I will not talk about in this interview, right? But yes, so that's how different we are from our other colleagues. I really don't want to use the word competition again, because I really am a fan the way Ara and Veera and UB Health have taken that amazing approach towards helping women to overcome their issues.
All right. Okay. So what has been the impact of COVID on the product that you guys are offering? Has it been negatively or positively impacted?
I would say positively impacted, and it became negatively impacted in the second wave. It became horrible for us in the second wave. But in the first wave, I mean, we kind of got a boost, I would say. Yeah. Why? Because, a lot of women, like all of us, were forced to stay inside home, and women suffering from chronic conditions, the stress only amplified their issues, right? And around the same time, we had launched Masika, and I was doing these webinars and workshops, right? So there was already a buzz around helping women about their chronic conditions. And the moment I had launched my first webinar on the on Instagram, I think that gave us a lot of push, because again, the lockdown and everything worked in our favor, right? But we could not utilize that boom in a very good manner, that kind of boost in a very good manner, because we had recently launched. The framework was so new, it required fine tuning. We were hiring more experts, right? So there was so much going on, and and we really didn't want I actually did not have that understanding that, if the sales coming, if people want to buy the product, let them just buy the product. And I was like, no, it's not complete. The framework's not finished. We cannot have too many people. We don't have that bandwidth, right? So if we get too many people, we'll just be delivering wrong and bad experiences, right? And I really wanted to fine tune on my this thing. The framework that we had created, and we were also, so what we basically did was that instead of creating the app, we replicated that whole journey manually with the users, right? That would take place on the app, right? So we wanted to build our hypothesis, but validate our hypothesis, so that COVID boom that came, we could not utilize it as well, right? And in the second wave, when the second lockdown happened, I saw an opportunity there, right? That women will be shut down again, and this would be a good time for me to like amplify my message there, my increase my outreach and visibility. But the second time, the second wave had all my team infected in the in COVID. And the funny thing is, it all happened when we all stopped coming to the office, right? When everybody was in the office, nobody got infected, everybody went back to their home, and suddenly we started getting this news that, okay, I am infected, I am positive. And my framework was like, the framework, like I said, we executed it manually, though it would be only functional if the people carrying out the deeds or doing the job are available. So my team was indisposed, and I put an effective stop on selling the packages at that time, and our complete focus was on building the product. So I think the first year COVID hit, it was good, right? But then we couldn't utilize that boom for us, and in the second wave it hit us. So for 2 months in between, it was a very harsh ride for us, but yes, we came back stronger out of it, and I was finally able to utilize that lockdown wala period, and rally up people to come on the plan, and recuperate from that. So it's been good and bad. Yeah.
Okay. As a team that's just starting out, right? You said you started your journey early last year.
Yeah.
Do you think remote working is conducive to innovation in the field that you're trying to work in, or do you think in-person meetings do a better job?
See, even while we were coming to the office, there were two departments, the tech and the treatment departments of our company, that were working perfectly remotely.
Okay.
Right? So till date, all these our tech department, our delivery department, our treatment department has worked remotely. None of them have ever come to the office. The only people who were coming to the office were sales and strategy and us, right? So we have always utilized that opportunity, because see, when we started hiring, it was full lockdown.
Yeah.
We did not have any other way, so we designed our entire processes, we designed the entire tools, entire system inside the company in a way that would work well in a remote structure, right? So far it has worked really well. We haven't faced any issue, any kind of lack in productivity or lack in delivery, right? Or any issue like that till date. And I really believe that if I ask all my team to come work from the office, I will see a definitely drop in productivity as well as customer experience there, right? Because I really do believe that if you start monitoring your team's work every now and then, like every day on a daily basis, you are kind of taking away the freedom that they are you've hired them for a reason, right? They're skilled, they're perfectly capable of carrying out the job that you have hired for, right? You really need to trust that they can take care of that job, right? So far they have done amazingly well in remote structure. Whenever there's a training required, we do that remotely. We train them remotely. We ensure that everything is running smoothly. So for us, for our teams, at least, remote structure is very conducive for them. But personally speaking, I am not the kind of a person who can do well in a remote structure. I am a people's person. I am an extrovert. I need conversations to be effective, to be productive, right? If I don't have a human connection, human interaction, right, takes my productivity down by 10%. Right, if I speak to a person, a human being, for 15 minutes about anything, it takes my productivity up by 20%, right? So I know that is me, right? I really want to be among humans to be effective, but my team has really found their happy spot in remote structure.
All right. And are these people located all around the country?
Yeah, pan India.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. So every time I'm traveling somewhere, I have one team member there where I can go or catch up with, right? So be it in North India, be it in South India, East India, West India, everywhere we've got people working with us.
Oh, that's nice. Okay. Tell me about a project that forced you to be a little more innovative or
Happiness Kit was that project, because see, when people talk about de-stressing, right, it's about doing all these meditations, chants and things like that. See, not all of us know how to meditate, right? I for one know. Why? Because I was very young when I was inducted into Art of Living, right? I knew all the chants, I knew how to meditate, I have done all the courses that are there in Art of Living, and I knew a very structured path towards, keeping my mental health intact, and yet I was not able to do that, right? So sorry. So that's where I thought, okay, I really need to get creative here, right? What is that something? Like, not everybody de-stresses through meditation, right? There must be some different, different other things that would help a person unwind, right? And I really started talking to people, and then I started getting all these things. Hey, whenever I look at those nostalgic things, वो बचपन की चीजें, those those trump cards, and we had trump cards in Happiness Kit. We had those snake wala, वो Tetris wala जो game होता है, video game. We had that, and like what not. We had that mobile wala game where you have to keep pushing on the button to get that ring on the, things like that, right? And we went really into Chacha Chaudhary comics, into all the comics that were around in the 90s, right? Those cigarette wala phantoms, sticks and all. So we really went in with nostalgia. And so, every time I would show that particular, we had sourced all these things. We made those trump cards, designed those themselves, right? And we showed this to our friends, and they went berserk. They were like, hey, ye kahan se mila? Where did you get this? Yeah. This is from my childhood. Oh man. So there you have your validation. That person is not thinking about what they were stressed for like 5 minutes ago. Right now they are completely in a different, mindset, in a very different mental zone. Then, we had this creativity section there. We had like so many, things, like we had origami, we had different art, like sketchbooks and origamis and whatnot. Then we had productivity section, right, where we had created a de-stress, like what was that? De-stress doll, right? Or a punch me doll, something. I'm forgetting the name of that doll. Me and my friend and my co-founder had created. The idea being that, when you get angry, you really want to smash somebody's face. I mean, if you're angry at a person, right? So instead of doing that, why don't you take that doll, think that that doll is that person, and you start banging that doll against the wall, right? It'll take all that anger out. It'll help you to So we did that, and we gave those dolls to our friends, and we were like, next time you get angry, start throwing that doll, onto the wall. And like in 1 week, we had our friends saying ki yaar dusra doll mil sakta hai, can we get a second doll? Like, wo to it's ribbed, right? So we were like, hey, that is again, it's very effective, right? Yeah. So, we kept taking, and then we did have the mental, of course, we did include meditation and, chants and things like that into the box itself. So creating Happiness Kit for me in itself was a very de-stressing project. And it was one of those insightful projects that made me realize the miracle that is human behavior. Right, like you will tell them every good point to get de-stressed, and they'll still be like fixated at one thing that is pissing them off, and you give them these random objects out of nowhere, and they forget about it.
I think it's a visual stimuli, right?
Yeah, visual stimuli, and there are songs, there are things that you say, right?
Yeah, because I think we associate a lot of memories with fragrances and music.
Yes. Our olfactory nerves are the reason why certain fragrances are able to invoke certain memories, right? Exactly. So we did those, that we have a sort of couple of friends who are who grew up into very religious environment and find peace when they smell agarbattis. Right? You cannot explain that tranquility, why they get that kind of calm from an agarbatti's fragrance. Right, but anytime we see these friends getting jittery or getting anxious, we light up those incense sticks. We're like, hey, that is a shot, like the most effective thing that I can do right now. And they're not just any incense sticks; they're like those sandalwood sticks that you would get in your childhood, right? So not any incense stick would do it. I have to really invoke that particular smell. So I keep doing these things, and I always wonder, my God, itna sab kuch bolne ke baad, I have guided you, I have spent my half an hour on you, and one incense stick does the trick. So yeah, I mean, creating Happiness Kit was that project for me.
That's wonderful. So it's another very important question. How do you unwind after a very hectic or a stressful week? What is it that gets you,
it may come off as really weird, like really weird, but like memes.
Memes.
Like I have dedicated an hour of my life every day to just go through memes. Or like, you know, it could be anything. It could be Hogwarts memes, like Harry Potter memes, like my favorite series or books that I read, right? I do that for unwinding, right? I don't read for unwinding. There are a lot of people read for unwinding. I don't know how you can, like, you know, actively use your brain to unwind, right? So reading is not unwinding for me. That is like right opposite. That's winding for me. Okay. Okay. So yeah, for me, it's, I think, memes and, like, you know, conversations. I like I said, I'm an extrovert, right? And if an interesting conversations thoroughly helps me to relax, and it cannot be gossip. Like gossip makes me anxious, like, you know, it just makes me like really angry. I don't know why. So I know that, you know, there are certain conversations that I need to really stick to if I want to unwind, and if I really need energy into me, I really need to, like, you know, I want just one piece of gossip and just, you know, rile me up and right. So yeah, so I think memes are my ways of unwinding or having that hearty conversation with a friend, anybody really. I really don't care. I have had conversations with people for 2 hours at a stretch without even knowing their names.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think I can stand anywhere and, like, not have random conversations, of course, but, like, yeah, I can speak to anybody. So memes or conversations are my way to unwind.
All right. So for my last question, what questions do you rarely get, even though you've been thinking about the answers a lot?
So I'll tell you, and this is not about my work. This is not about my life. This is about a very important aspect of my life, which is Harry Potter. I grew up reading that book. My entire life has been shaped around. The reason why I never gave up in my life is because I used to think that, you know, there is a Hogwarts I can just run off to, right? Okay. So first, let me just handle the Muggle world. If everything goes fine here, we are fine. Otherwise, you know, Hogwarts always there. So Hogwarts kind of, Harry Potter is kind of my refuge, right? So you know, have you read Harry Potter series? Watched the movies?
I watched the movies, yes.
All right. So, you know, there is this particular scene in the third book where Hermione is able to use her time turner and save Sirius Black and Buckbeak, right? But then I always keep thinking this question, and believe me, nobody ever has asked me this question, and I always keep thinking, like, you know, koi pooch lo, somebody ask me this question and please give me the answer as well, right? So the question is, like, how come they are able, Hermione or Dumbledore or Harry are able to use time turner at that moment to save 2 lives, but they did not have any means to save James and Lily Potter, like when they were about to die.
Yeah.
They could apparate, they could have apparated, they could have used time turners, they could have used all those bits of magic, but they died as muggles, man. Like, they died as muggles. Why did they behave like bloody muggles in the end? This is the question not a single Potter head has asked me. I have wondered all my life. I asked this question today in a forum, in a Potterhead forum. And then, you know, they were like, you need to ask C.B. Strike that question. You need to ask C.B. Strike to investigate. Like, you know, and you really need to read the books to get that, you know, get that kind of, what do you say? Like, you know, that unresolved feeling about it. Like, if you been a Potterhead, you would have had that, you know, feeling, that unresolved feeling that I keep getting. Like, where was all that magic when Lily and James Potter needed to be saved?
So that brings us to the end of the interview. Thank you for joining us today. It's been lovely having you.
Thank you so much, and keep inviting me for more such nice interviews, okay?
Sure, maybe I will do.
And yeah, thanks.